Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Co-Angler's Corner, brought to you by Olson Home Theater. I'm Russell Olson. Today on the show, I kind of want to just go ahead and wrap up our soft plastic series, kind of maybe go over some tips and tricks. Some maybe we've already discussed in previous episodes, some maybe possibly not. And then on this episode's Virgo Muse Spotlight Bait, I'm actually going to be going over a few different baits that I actually like to use for jig trailers. So, kind of wrapping things up with the soft plastic series. I'll start off with colors. Again, as probably discussed in a previous episode, lighter water, lighter colors, darker water, darker colors. Some anglers say that sunlight should also play a factor. Some don't. I'm personally one that does kind of let light conditions also dictate. I personally would like to start with water clarity, kind of get kind of a base of what I should use, and then kind of let the sunlight, the amount of light, determine kind of the fine tuning of the color I'm going to use. Like for example, let's just say you got clear water on a sunny day. I like to use if I got some translucent colors with me. I prefer those simply because you got a lot of sunlight, and the water being really clear, those fish are going to be able to see further away. It's in general going to be, I feel like it's going to be a little bit more natural for the fish personally. That's just me. But if I'm going to use, if I'm in clear water, but say if it's a cloudy day or real early in the morning, if the sun isn't really bright yet, I may start with more of a white, not for example, but nothing translucent really, because in the darker skies where you don't have quite as much light penetration, I just don't feel like that's going to be as effective. And that's to me, that not just soft plastics, but about any bait that I use. I kind of let both the sunlight and the water clarity be both be a determining factor in my colors. The various rigs, you got probably the most famous one and the one that's been around the longest is a Texas rig. It's real weedless. You can fish it almost anywhere. You can use a lighter. I prefer bullet weight, bullet shape. I think most anglers do with the Texas rig. In some cases, especially if you've got a bait that sinks and you need something that's going to be real slow, you may even go with no weight on it. You got then again you got your Carolina rig. That one advantage with that is you usually do use a really heavier weight because you are trying to cast at a really long distance, cover a lot of water. It's a great way to slowly fish fast, maybe would be a way to describe it, because you can cover a lot of water with that rig. It casts really far. You can adjust your leader lengths, depending on water clarity, just whatever the circumstances are. Then you got your finesse rigs, like your drop shot rig. You got your I forget what the rig is called. We just use the little little weights you wrap around the line or clamp them down. You know, that's another finesse rig. You know, I don't know why that name of that rig is not coming to me right now. Split shot rig. It just came to mind. So that's more of a finesse-y type presentation. You've got wacky rigging like Senkos and that, or you can even rig those weedless, kind of Texas style as well. You got your noodle rig. I think there's another name for it. Can't think of it right off. Been a bit of a long day, but it's just a jig. Some of them have the where you can screw the head of the worm on, so it stays on. But that's kind of a weedless rig too. I know it's worked in rocks a lot. There's so many different ways you could rig these soft plastics. If you wanted to, you could just hook it on. If you got a weedless hook, you can just hook the head of the bait, whether it be a head of the worm or a head of a creature bait or whatever you're using, and just hook it on. You know, some people like to do it that way. There's just so many different ways to rig it. I mean, there's times when, like I remember on one Little Green once, there was a day we were had a chance to actually practice and tournament the next day. They actually preferred the wacky rig, but there's so many weeds out there, so I decided to put it on a weedless hook, and that did help. You're still probably gonna catch some weeds, especially if it's real dense, but you know, anything you can do is gonna help. As far as line goes, it depends on what you're doing. As I may have touched on before, if you're out in real clear water, say if you're drop shotting, or you're just in a situation where the fish can be real spooky, and if you can get away with it, the type of structure cover allows you to fish lighter pound test. Fish that lighter pound test. I mean, everything you can do to get extra bites. Now, if you're using light line, you do have to be patient when you're fighting them in, or you will, even the best line, you'll snap it. So that's basically what I wanted to go over. Like I said, I just wanted to do a quick summary of soft plastics, some ways to use them, some colors, and next up will be this episode's Frugal Muse Spotlight Bait. Welcome back, everyone. On this episode's Frugal Muse Spotlight Bait, I want to go over actually probably a few different baits, but the purpose is going to be the same. Using them as trailers for various jigs. I want to start off with the I would say presentations that are mimicking swimming fish, bait fish. More like, I'll give you an example here. Here's one I like to use when I need to downsize, especially just your basic plastic grub. Now with the grub, first of all, as far as which way the tail, either tail up or tail down, people have different opinions on that. I'm personally one that it's more of a confidence thing for me. I generally rig mine with the tail down. And again, this is something I use when I'm needing downsize, but yeah, I still want to use a swimming presentation, usually the swim jig. Another one I want to talk about is your various soft plastic swim baits. They come in various sizes. They're probably my favorite thing to use as a jig trailer when I'm doing more of a swimming presentation. I usually use a paddle tail. I don't know. It just looks natural. Has a lot of good action. There's various types that I've used and enjoy using. I generally have had more luck with a swimming presentation in cleaner water presentations, but you can use them in any type of water clarity or light conditions. So another type of presentation generally used with jigs is, I would say, more of a crayfish presentation. Although some of the crayfish baits that you use as trailers, they have good swimming action, so a lot of people do also use some of them as trailers for swimming type presentations. But usually, and I'll give you an example. Here's a bait that you can generally use by itself, or I've used it as a jig trailer a lot. It's a some people call it, it's Sweet Beaver or Yo Mama, depending on what brand that you're buying. I generally like to use these if I'm intending to, like I said, more of a crayfish presentation. Generally keeping it a little more to the bottom, generally dragging or just hopping it, giving it light hops. I don't like a lot of big hops, simply because when you raise your rod even 6 inches to a foot, you're pulling that bait maybe a good 2-3 feet, maybe more. So you could be missing a lot of fish that way. Another way I like to work jigs with these type of trailers on it is work them, through the grass. Just bring them back, just working it through, get stuck, just give it little pops. Sometimes those fish will hit that bait as it's falling after you rip it out of the weeds. So kind of some generalities for both types of presentations. I'll generally match colors to the jig I'm using. So, like for example, like the color of these two baits, black and blue, I will generally match them to either a black or usually black and blue jig. There are a few times when I use some contrasting colors, like I'll either go with a black jig, but have a black trailer with chartreuse pinchers, or say if I'm using a brown and it's a little bit stained, I might take my Spike and Dye pen and color some chartreuse, or in some cases maybe even some orange on it. It all depends the conditions, where you're fishing, what you have confidence in, what you've had success on. So, but that's some information about jig trailers and how I like to use them. So that is going to be it for this episode's Frugal Muse Spotlight Bait. That'll be it for today's episode. I hope what we've talked about today will help you be a better angler. I'd like to thank my sponsor, Frugal Muse Books. You mentioned Co-Angler's Corner at checkout, and you'll get a 10% discount. And also, too, if you'd like to make money while helping people change their lives and feed starving kids in America, feel free to email me at olsonhometheater@gmail.com, and I'll personally respond with information. Take care and wish you luck from the back of the boat this season.